Okay, let's just move this knight and attack their knight and also the bishop. So they captured. So we'd look to just get this bishop out of the way. It's in our half of the board. Move it, then we're gonna just keep putting pressure on the bishop, just get it away, condense it into its little corner. Advancing the pawns up. Obviously I don't want to be a pawn pusher type thing, we need to be looking at developing the other pieces as well. Make some space for the white square bishop. Develop the knight. Trying to keep it simple. It looks a bit messy at this start, but if we can get castled or king safety, they're attacking our knight. Simply bring the bishop through, supporting the knight. Get ready for castling. Just castle. I'm kind of happy they're moving that piece again because they're not developing any other pieces, such as the rooks and the queens at this moment. Small detail. I'll just push up and support the pawn because the knight's coming attacking the pawn. Especially as they started as white, they're one move ahead. I think they've lost that movement with the movement of their bishop and then the movement of their knight. But nothing's clear yet, so they're just attacking again, not developing their other pieces, so I'm feeling fairly comfortable that we're winning small incremental type of tempos in terms of development of our pieces. But we may be wrong. If they're attacking our knight, our pawn can simply take the pawn. There's no immediate attacks on their king at the moment. So envisaging the knight moving again to capture the pawn. So that's less development of their other pieces, as we mentioned. The knight's got no protection on it at the moment. Bishop's got no protection on it at the moment. Bring the bishop, stopping the knight from mobilizing towards the crucial square, putting a balk on the queen and the bishop. It's also targeting the pawn in front of the king. But as we mentioned, their bishop and their knight don't have any Whoa. Looks like they've gone for a crazy move. So it looks like fried liver type thing. So they're sacrificing their bishop and the knight for a rook. And as we mentioned, it can work. You know, sometimes it can work if they play it correctly. Okay, so we're going to capture the knight. And now, basically, we have more pieces than the opponent. More physical pieces. They're up the exchange, but in order for them to work that exchange, they really have to use their rooks wisely. I see that they brought the rook onto the open file, which is sensible. But we do have more pieces. That is the saving grace in that we have more material on the board. So smaller piece attacking the higher piece, see if it's going to be capturing the knight or is it going to be dancing. I'm just thinking if we can try and manage more spaces on the board, because we have more pieces on the board, kind of suffocate their movement. We're just going to attack the bishop like we did on the other side. We're looking to get the bishop off. So if we can reduce down, we're still going to have more pieces than them on the board. We want to try and utilize that to our advantage. Hopefully working our team together. Fingers crossed. Queen's coming down, looking like it's maybe going for a queen exchange. Got to check on our king before he hits our queen. King can move onto a dart square, or I could just move backwards and go into a dart square if it hits there. If it hits e6 with the check, then we can just move the king. g7, something like that. So I think they're doing the right thing by trying to own the file, but is it concrete enough? We're looking to reduce down and we're getting first blood with doubling the pawns. And we're looking for some type of mate threat if the queen decides to move. It can still come down and put a check on the king, but as we said, we can just bring the king either back or up. It could go for, so it's actually come down for the check on the king. As we say, we can go back. It looks like they want to get rid of the queens, so we have no problems with that. Because we have more pieces on the board. That's what we're banking on, having the majority on the board. Didn't want to capture because didn't want the rook coming down, owning the file and putting pressure on our pieces, the knight, putting pressure on the rook, our bishop type thing. So if they take, our knight can take or the bishop can take. which they have done, so that's good enough for us. Take with the bishop, because if the rook does come down, then at least we've got a defense position. The knight's protected, the bishop's protected by the knight, so there's no issues there. If we took with the knight, it could come down and there's nothing actually attacking it. We're looking to get a nice fancy position whereby the knight's never going to get taken away from that position. They actually attack us, so we can just jump into the center now with the support from the D pawn. It would then be attacking the C pawn, and if they forget themselves, we get a lovely fork on the rooks. Obviously, they're not going to let that happen. They defend with the rook. If we can keep it as closed down as possible, I mean, we do have a 2-on-1 on the pawn in front of the king, but their rook is defending as well. We're probably looking to get the rook in the game or pushing some more pawns up just to keep the momentum going, keeping it locked down as best possible. Because we have flexible pieces and they have 2 flat rooks. If we can manage these open files, maybe we might start getting a bit of an advantage. We're just going to try and open up the pawns a little bit and see if we can get this D pawn into some sort of activity. I know some will probably say, "I'll keep it locked down because the rooks are, you know, they're going to can't open the files, can't own the files." But if we keep it too locked down in the later stages of the end game, then nothing's going to happen, and then we would end up in that draw type position. Whereas we're thinking, let's try and break that mold of draws and see if we can gain an advantage. We have more material on the board. The bishop's now on the rook at this moment in time, so making them feel a bit uncomfortable. It's attacking our pawn. We can defend the pawn with our rook. Idea being potentially pushing the pawn up and up and up to see if it can get promoted. If not, just getting rid of the pawns and utilizing our majority pieces against their king. So happy to get these traded down. Just didn't want their rooks supporting their pawns, being able to push them down. Now they're looking to come round the back with their rook. The bishop is on their pawn. He's got a rook, he's got a check on the king, so he's going to get the pawn. Like we said, not too bothered about them taking these pawns. Because if we can get them off the board, then it's less that we have to worry about. I'm thinking bishop just taking the pawn on the A. He comes down with the check, move the king up or down, up. He takes the pawn, we move the bishop out of the way, maybe coming round and attacking the C pawn. We've got a 2-on-1 with the knight. Something along them lines. Yep, let's go for it. Okay, so the plan's falling into place. Just check to make sure it looks the same. Does it look different? Let's move the king up. Let's bring the bishop and attack the pawn. Does it look different though, the position now? I think it works. Maybe I think it works. We're looking to get our rook for free by pushing the pawn. If we take the pawn, then his rook takes our rook for free, and that wouldn't be a good position. But if we push, now we have a passed pawn, highly developed passed pawn, which is also defended by our bishop. It's basically going to be locked into that position. They're going to have to babysit this pawn forever and a day. That's a half decent position. Our knight can swing back and attack the rook as well, just to get it moved out of the way, so then we can push the pawn even further up as well. We could go to c4 with the knight. There's no checks on the king that I can see. I think stopping their rook from putting a check on our king, which would be annoying, giving them tempo, plus that pawn push that they've just done there stops the king from moving any further up, so they will be going up and down with their rook putting checks on. I think we've circumvented a repetition type thing. I mean, we could have escaped. King could have come round and come onto the e file and then just gone behind the rook. Our knight doesn't have any protection on, but as we noted earlier on, the knight can go to c4, which would be attacking the rook, which is to our benefit because it has to move out of the way. So the teams seem to be gelling together. Bishop supporting the pawn at the minute. Rook definitely has to move, but it moves back. It's attacking our bishop, so our bishop can move to attack it by going on to c2. Not going to be very comfortable in that position, I'm hoping. And as we said, we can push the pawn up as well, just to make them feel even more uncomfortable. Because if the rook takes the bishop, then we'd get a queen, and then they would lose their rook because their rook would have to come back and take the queen. So we're going to push the pawn, they can have the bishop. Right, they're not going for that, they're attacking our knight. Can go and attack their rook and their other rook. So a bit of a fork with the knight situation. So they've captured. Don't really want to get our rook taken, so we may as well just take, because we've got a check on their king anyway. doesn't have any protection on at the minute, does the rook, but it can be supported by our knight. So we could just go to d3 with a check on the king if we wanted to do that. And then that gives us tempo to actually go for their rook, because our bishop is protecting our rook, so the knight can take the rook for free. That came about quite nicely. They've resigned.